In the last episode of episode 3 of Supernatural's 15th season, Cass and Dean had a parting of ways, and I want to talk about that a little bit. First, I suppose I can answer for the 5 people who watch my videos and give a shit about my opinion concerning anything, why I didn't talk about the second episode of the season and Rupture as a review. And that's because, for the most part, I don't really see the episodes as being worth individual reviews anymore, because I say the same things every time. So, that's not interesting for me to make. I assume that's not interesting for anybody to watch, for the few of you who watch my stuff. Anyway, so to give some praise, though, to Rupture, Burns wrote it, and it is one of his stronger episodes for sure, in large part, in my opinion, because he wasn't doing his bullshit Cassandra Clare act of just, like, totally stealing from Joss Whedon and shoving Joss Whedon stuff into every single bit of Supernatural that he can. He wasn't doing that this time. Rowena got a death that was worthy of her, and that made sense, and that was respectful to the show and the audience and the character and all that, so that's good. And Ketch died, which please show, let Ketch stay dead. Do not bring him back. Please, for the love of God, do not bring this character back, because you watching this, if you care to answer me, was there a single point at all since his appearance in season 12 that you gave the tiniest bit of a shit about Ketch? Because I know I sure didn't. It's like that saying, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, and I was extremely indifferent towards Ketch. Like, pretty much every time he was on screen, I felt like he was just a waste of space and a waste of our time. And the few times, like, I would get frustrated because he would, like, pull these switches where all of a sudden he's, not as much of a douchebag for reasons that they're not going to explain, because clearly, they don't care enough to give explanations and reasons for character actions anymore. I didn't get mad at Ketch. I got mad at the writers for, their lazy, crappy writing. So, yeah. Please let Ketch stay dead. Do not bring this character back. Anyway, Dean and Cass. Destiel. Alright. So, for sure, the language on Twitter and on Tumblr, even though I'm not a part of Twitter at all, but I do read tweets sometimes. The language is calling it a breakup. And even more interestingly to me, because of course, like, Destiel fans would put it in that sort of language, what's more interesting is there are, like, publications that are calling it a breakup. And I know at the convention, the Supernatural convention, I think it was Jensen who said, to Misha, should we pretend to be mad at one another? So certainly there's PR behind the idea of a breakup. And yeah, as a Destiel fan, like so much about this show, I'm just tired. I'm so tired, because for years now, ever since Castiel showed up, it's been this thing where, like, Sam and Cass are like friends, and they're brothers, and later they become best friends. And Dean and Cass are friends, become like family, become like brothers, they're best friends. But Sam and Cass's relationship is different than Dean and Cass's relationship, and the show never like, puts forward the language to clarify this, even though, like, we can see it. And so often, so much, Cass and Dean's relationship is framed in a romantic way or compared to a romantic relationship. Like, one of the most obvious examples in my mind is the episode in season 12, Lily Sunder Has Some Regrets, where there was this angel who was obsessed with her, so he killed her daughter and fucked up her life, and then she spent the rest of her life, trying to hunt this angel down and kill him because he killed her daughter. And right, like, this evil angel was obsessed with her romantically. Like, they make that clear. And then later in the show, the evil angel is like, I'm gonna remove your human weakness, Cass, by cutting it out. And it's Dean that he's talking about. This guy who was romantically obsessed, like Naraku style, with this one human bitch is like, I'm gonna kill your human weakness, the guy who you're friends with, but clearly, not in love with. And there's so many other examples of Cass and Dean being, paralleled with romantic couples. And it's happened for years. And it's been my opinion that if you go on the Supernatural set and you go to the Supernatural offices in California where the writers are, and you go up to Vancouver to the production side of things, and you kind of would like talk to everybody there and slyly ask them, oh, what do you think of Destiel? Do you think like it's just a fandom creation? Do you think it's nonsense? Do you think that like maybe Cass is in love with Dean, but Dean isn't in love with Cass? Or, maybe Dean is in love with Cass and he just, he has, all of his issues. And right, like if you talked to these people, like I think you would get widely different answers from every single person. Like, in my opinion, Misha plays it 100% at this point. Like, Castiel is in love with Dean. Like, I don't think Misha is just trolling and, playing to his fan base and, getting them to come and, like, spend money to, get his autograph and take his picture. Like, I don't think, it's just like a coldly cynical move for Misha to play to that. And I don't think he's just trolling either. Like, I think he legitimately plays Castiel at this point like he's in love with Dean. And yeah, I think like everybody would have a different answer. I think Burns, who wrote this episode, would have a different answer than the person who directed it, who I think it was Charles Beeson who directed this episode. Like, if you talk to him, like, I think he would have a different answer. I think Jensen would have a different answer of what exactly is the nature of their relationship. That all being said, it's just, it is frustrating. And I think, like, for, nothing canon or concrete to ever happen. And I'm a person who's really skeptical of the idea of queer baiting in terms of literary analysis, because queer baiting, it suggests knowledge of the author's intentions that is difficult to ascertain without actually asking the people behind it. Like, I know the writers of Once Upon a Time got heat for queer baiting because of Swan Queen, and me, I never saw queer baiting there. Like, I saw like this really interesting relationship that became like this really great friendship between Regina and Emma that was miles better than the romances that either of those women had at any point. and like it would have been great for these two women to come together. Like I think it would have been the correct creative choice of the show, but I never thought like they started out intending this, you know, to be romantic. It's just that the actresses had chemistry. The writing between these two people are interesting, and you know, shippers love villain hero couples. Like, you know, that's a huge part of shipping culture is, you know, villain hero couples. People love that shit. And yeah, like I never saw that as queer baiting. But Destiel is different because at this point they know. They know what they're doing. They know who they're playing to. They know how the audience views this. And they can't claim ignorance anymore. It's kind of funny, like years ago, like I know the panels the conventions, the supernatural conventions would downplay Destiel as much as possible, but that's really changed in recent years where like Destiel is kind of like out in the open in the convention culture, in the supernatural convention culture now. So I mean they know what they're playing to and they know what they're doing, and if like nothing ever happens with Dean and Cass, I think that it would be a legitimate case of queer baiting. And you know, I don't know. I'm interested to see what Dab is going to ultimately do with Dean and Cass's relationship, if he's going to pull that plug. And I know I've heard people say, well, you know, Jensen is not going to act, you know, Dean and Cass being a couple. It's like, yeah, he will. Yes, he will. Like, especially, are you telling me nowadays in the, you know, extremely, like, far left, liberal, like, PC culture that exists in the you know, TV and movie industries in, like, in Hollywood, even though, you know, supernatural films in Canada, in Vancouver, but still it's attached to, you know, a huge media corporation. Like, are you telling me if you know they put Destiel in front of Jensen, he's gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna act this? That would be career suicide for Jensen. He would not get work after Supernatural. He would forever be branded as a homophobe, and it would be a huge taint on his career. So if Destiel happens, Jensen is acting Destiel. You know, he's not going to put up a huge fit about it if he's smart. For me to be cynical about this situation. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Destiel. And I'm really interested to hear other people's thoughts about this. Okay. Sayonara and auf Wiedersehen.